Hey guys, welcome to the Learn Feng Shui podcast, where you'll learn Feng Shui from a classical point of view, taking out the myth and superstition. So if you're interested in learning Feng Shui, Chinese astrology, all things Chinese metaphysics, as well as the superstitions and myths that connect it all, you'll enjoy learning Feng Shui with me. Hey guys, welcome to the Learn Feng Shui podcast, where ancient traditions meets modern living. I'm Candace Burling, a certified Feng Shui practitioner and red ribbon professional with the International Feng Shui Guild, and of course, your host for today's episode. Today, we're going to read through the newsletter from learnfengshui.com. We're going to kind of walk through what's coming up for this month's Feng Shui flying stars perspective, look at the zodiac signs that might affect you, and some seasonal health tips based on traditional Chinese medicine, as well as how to align yourself for the upcoming fall months. Can you believe it's autumn already? All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, guys, well, the month of the wood monkey begins around August 6th, and it's the first solar cycle of energy lasting up through the 22nd. Remember, that's just a little micro season that lasts 15 days, and there's 2 in the month. The first one, again, starts on the 6th. It's called Coming of Autumn, and it's closely associated with the Wheel of the Year and the observance of Lammas or Lunasa. August 22nd brings in the second solar cycle, and that lasts until around September 7th, and it's called Heat Ends. So what's happening around this time, guys? Again, you can check this out on the learnfengshui.com on the blog post. I'll link in the show notes here. It has all this information. So we're transitioning now from the solar calendar, and August marks a shift from late summer to early autumn. Even though it's hot, but we will kind of start seeing a little bit earlier night times. The days will shorten very imperceptibly almost. The sun will start setting just a little bit earlier. This has actually been happening since the summer solstice, but once we hit August, it's almost a little bit more noticeable, especially late August. It's a season where we're transitioning from that fire of summer to the energy of metal. And it transitions us from this outward expression to a more inward expression. Metal is very inward. It really creates a little bit of reflection and kind of inward thinking. The earth will nurture metal with stability and predictability. And then the metal will bring also clarity and refinement. Metal represents the autumn energy in the zodiac signs of monkey, rooster, and dog. Even though the dog is considered to be an earth element, it does carry a little bit of that metal inside of it. It's a seasonal combination. All right, the organs associated with the skin, lungs, and immune system, it represents grief and release also. And, support it with cooling foods, gentle motion and movement, and deep breathing. The foods for autumn health, not so much in the early fall, but kind of moving into the little bit cooler evenings, the drier, cooler air. Chinese medicine does tell us to focus on nourishing or the yin or calm inner energy. And we're supposed to moisten our lungs to prevent dryness, skin eczema, and even autoimmune flare-ups that can occur in the fall with the extra metal. The metal does represent also the autoimmune system, your skin. So a lot of times you may experience those flare-ups. Eating cooling fruits and vegetables help moisten your body. Pears are always good. Apples, pumpkins, squash is really good this time of year. They say to eat squash, that summer squash, to prevent lung issues and breathing issues later on in the year. Leafy greens, cooked and warm is best. Don't eat super hot, but cooked vegetables. I kind of prefer sometimes raw vegetables, but I've been doing more cooked vegetables for my digestion. Limit really heavy foods. So fried, dry, bitter foods. So limit your very heavy foods like fried foods, very heavy meats, the dark meats that are very heavy on your stomach. So avoid like the ginger or bitter greens. Not saying you can't eat it, but just don't make it like your primary diet, I suppose. But things like mushrooms that can help. Grains like oatmeal or cream of wheat, even grits, supposed to help aid your digestion by warming your stomach up. And of course, teas like chamomile, marshmallow, or licorice root soothe dryness and support your lungs during the seasonal shift. Also, chamomile is supposed to be very anti-inflammatory, so it can help with some of those issues if you have a lot of inflammation. I personally have a lot of inflammation internally, and sometimes it will come out externally in the form of like an autoimmune flare-up. And so the chamomile tea has been super helpful for that. I mean, you drink it every day. You can drink it a couple times a day. It's just chamomile. All right, so some things you can do here to stay healthy. Since it represents the lungs, skin, large intestines, and immune system, you can support the organs by strengthening your ability to breathe deeply It helps release toxins and stay well as the season is shifting for you. Supporting your immune system and skin health, facial massage. If you look up some different facial massages, there's some for also lymphatic drainage. You don't want to massage that very roughly. Honestly, the lymph nodes, they sit right underneath the skin. And so just gently kind of touching right on top of the skin and doing a little bit of massage to that and uh, massaging it towards your heart so everything kind of drains out is supposed to be super helpful. Inversions. So if you have an inversion table, even just lay on the floor, elevating your feet, so that can definitely help with your lymphatic drainage too. Acupressure, acupuncture, professional massage sessions, all that can help you improve your circulation and also help to prep your skin for a very dry season. Drink a lot of water. Lung health is tied deeply to emotional release here. So deep breathing in the mornings, inhale clarity, exhale what no longer serves you. Just setting your intention in the morning can be super helpful. Support both respiratory and emotional detox. Try different breathing techniques. You can look them up online. Even just gentle movement, walking, qigong, stretching, low intensity exercises, lightweight lifting. You don't want to do too heavy exercise. This can all help to transition to energy and stabilize your blood pressure too. Gentle walking and qigong is supposed to be super good for your blood pressure. And all that and more is included in that newsletter. So again, go check that out. Just looking at the energy of the wood monkey this month brings us the I Ching hexagram. So the wood monkey is represents the I Ching hexagram 64, not yet accomplished. Kind of reminds us there's always the next step waiting. When one cycle ends, another begins. So it's kind of that it's the very last hexagram. The one right before it is hexagram 63. That's called accomplished. And then you have the next one called not yet accomplished. So it's kind of reminding us that even when we think that we're done with something, we're done with, towards the end of our years. I know I'm in my 40s, right? And so I think a lot of times we look at our life and we're like, oh my God, it's like I'm getting towards middle age. What can I accomplish now? But remember that your work is never done. I remember hearing a sermon long time ago and it always stuck with me. And I remember him saying, your best years are in front of you and not behind you. And so it's kind of one of those things. It's never too late to start something new. A lot of people kind of get started later in life with building wealth, even, doing some of these accomplishments that they've done. They don't start till their 40s, so sometimes even 50s, hell, 60s. So remember, your best years are in front of you and not behind you. But that's just a little bit of an aside that I kind of felt compelled to say. So yeah, one cycle ends, another begins. Don't pause too long. Just be ready to move forward for the next opportunity. And August is known in Chinese folklore as the ghost month. It's a time when spirits are believed to wander between the worlds. It's a season marked with quiet observances, offerings to ancestors, and a general pause in major activities like movement, maybe even renovation, stuff like that. A lot of people avoid making major life changes out of respect for unseen energies. And then the weather trends, I think it's going to be a little bit cooler than average up north and warmer in the southwest. A continued rainy season. I think we're going to continue to still see some of that rain into fall. That second solar cycle around the 22nd, that is when we're supposed to get like the early fall rain. So we'll see if that happens. All right, let's go on to the zodiac forecasts that are most impacted. All right, guys, looking at these zodiac signs that are most impacted by the energy of the monkey. So remember, the energy will just impact you depending on where it lands in your natal chart. And you do have 4 zodiac signs. You have one for the year, month, day, and even hour that you're born. And the year represents your social circle. So if I talk about one of these zodiac signs and you see that in the year you're born, which you can calculate, there'll be a link in the show notes. But that will represent your social circle, friends, and community. And that's where it'll impact you if it lands in the month that you're born. So, for example, this month is the month of the monkey. So, if it lands in the month you're born, it can represent your career or your parental relationships. And that is the area it may impact. The day represents your health and relationships. And even the way you truly see yourself, that aspect of your life may be impacted in that way. And then the hour represents your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and relationship with children. If you have a downline at work, you're a manager, it represents your subordinates, whereas the month represents more of like your coworkers. All right, starting with the Grand Duke or the monkey. So the monkeys may feel mentally scattered this month. There's a few stars that'll be impacting you. Death God star that won't kill you, but it's more of like this psychological type fog, a fogginess. You don't have maybe a lot of mental clarity. and you may just find it hard to stay focused. So don't worry, these stars sound bad, but you won't die. Just maybe your will to live may be gone. No, I'm totally just joking. So no, it just creates like a psychological effect. Oh, most of these are psychological, so no worries. Okay. Red chamber star, overindulging in comfort habits, eating too much. If you drink, maybe you drink too much. Maybe you'll be smoking too much. So just avoid overindulging. It could be something as simple as just binging Netflix or binging your shows, and you don't feel like doing nothing else. So it doesn't have to be necessarily something super bad, but maybe you just don't feel very motivated this month. So not, again, some of these have negative names, but they're not going to impact you in the way that they sound. Again, mostly psychological. A hook spirit could leave you to overpromising what you can't deliver, to stay grounded and realistic. But you do have some positive stars too. So those are just the negative ones. We'll get the bad news out of the way first. On the positive side here, the good news is you have Heaven Nobleman and Sky Fortune. They offer support and career advancement. Five Prosperity is a strong month for professional progress if you resist the urge to escape into those distractions. So just keep that focus, steady effort. Remember that hexagram of not yet accomplished. And just remember that even if a project is done, maybe the next one needs to get started. So just, keep an eye out for that. All right, the seasonal combination. These are the zodiac signs that make up the season of fall. So they are a metal combination. Remember that metal is organization and grief and setting boundaries, communication. And that's going to affect the zodiac sign of the rooster and dog. Remember, I talked earlier about the rooster, dog, and monkey all making up the season of fall. Three harmony combination. The monkey combines with the rat and dragon. So if you have a rat and dragon, you have a three harmony combination that supports communication, knowledge, and movement. It gives you a strong water energy, which is all represented by these topics here. I use energy to plan ahead, map out your next move. It's a really good time to make progress because water represents motion. Align your thoughts with long term goals because water can be quite emotional, especially if you have an abundance of it. Try to balance logic and emotion, create quiet time to process feelings so you don't cloud your focus or let your progress slow. So, again, sometimes water is very over emotional. So when you have the extra in there, like a zodiac sign comes in, it makes that combination. It can be very strong and you may feel a little bit overwhelmed. Let the water energy support your strategy by staying mentally flexible. Remember, it also represents like wisdom, that progress that can help you move forward with purpose. Again, think of that hexagram 64 where you just have to keep moving, keep doing the next thing. The combo of 6, the secret friend with the monkey is the snake. So the monkey and snake also support communication and wisdom, but can produce a little bit of a self-sabotaging behavior, mostly due to trusting or helping the wrong kind of person out. So use the month's energy to clearly communicate and take action on ideas that have really been kind of circling around for a while, wanted to tackle or get done. Because that progress represented by this combination. Trust your instincts when it comes to friends or alliances. Don't be afraid to say no if something feels off, or even if you just feel like it drained your energy. Remember, no is a full sentence. You don't have to help out somebody who, just you don't have the time for, or you just can't. So, if all it means is you're giving your time and you want to do that, then remember also nobody owes you anything. So if somebody's not grateful for your help, then it's okay because you helped them out of the goodness of your heart. You don't need the validation, okay? Be consistent in your efforts and letting progress build over time. It can support career growth and personal direction too. And again, that water also is applied knowledge. So if you've been learning something, it's time to get out in the field. Whether you have the snake or the rat and dragon, it's time for you to get out there and start applying your knowledge. The tiger clashes with the monkey in August. That's the clash. Remember, a combination takes precedence over a clash. You can use the south sector of your house to combine, like where the horse is at specifically, to combine with that tiger and take the clashing energy away. I know I said I'm not doing those free floor plan mappings, but seriously, if you need help to find just like the south sector of your home, or you need to find that horse energy in your home, do message me. I have a new email address, info@learnfengshui.com. Message me there and you can ask me your questions, especially if you just have a question about your house. I'll still help you out, okay? All right, guys, let's look at the flying stars for August. All right, guys, well, here's the Feng Shui flying stars for the month. So how you use these is enhancing with Feng Shui activations, meaning you can move the energy or chi in the area with a radio fan. If you have a little fountain, aquarium, handle. Aquarium is kind of hard to move each month, but moving object. Don't use a clock. But lighting, candles. You can even clean and declare the area if you would like to activate the energy. So something interesting happens this month. If you are a feng shui flying star person, you may notice that the yearly flying stars will make a sort of a combination called the parent string in each sector. And so when the daily flying stars come in, then you get a really positive energy. This month, we're actually going to be able to use the 2 and the 7 flying stars, which we usually don't move. Usually 1, 4, 6, 8, 9 are considered positive, but in August, they kind of return to their home base also, which makes them a little more benevolent, if that makes sense. So the 2 star can be used in the Southwest. Let's start here with flying star number 6. The Lux star returns to the Northwest in Gua 6. This month can bring a kind of a bold, commanding energy, that 6-3 combination. It really can support leadership and communication, especially assertiveness, public speaking, but can also stir up some tension because maybe you're a little bit too harsh in the way you speak. So that 3 can manifest there. It can also just make you feel a little more risky in your behavior, want to take on more risk with work or even at home, with your friends. So be mindful of being too aggressive or stubborn also. If you are a Gua 6, focus on leading with clarity and staying open to feedback. Don't let pride block honest conversations. That means just be willing to get some feedback because be coachable. That's it. That's all it means, is to be coachable. You can enhance the area by a lamp. You can leave a lamp on, you can turn a fan on, play steady background music, or even work in the sector, especially especially if you're doing something in a leadership position, you can definitely execute that in that sector. So all you have to do is use the area really. Again, that's why I tell you how to activate it. And flying star 9, spiritual and happiness star, goes back to Guan 9 in the south. The south holds a strong active energy. A 6-9 stars combined. Remember, when the daily 3 star is there, you can actually use that. This pairing can boost recognition, leadership, and authority. However, it can bring a little bit of a competitive or prideful behavior. Again, just that 6 can be a very stubborn. It's a good energy for standing out, but balance is key. You can also use it for sales. The 6-9 combination, when the daily 3 star comes in, if you have a little tong shu and you know when the daily 3 is, a 3-6-9 combination could be good for sales. So use it that way. If you're a Guan 9, stay focused or have clear direction rather than scattering your attention. Be mindful not to let strong opinions turn into unnecessary arguments. Conversations are had by listening. And the only thing is, I would say, is the 6-9 combination isn't supposed to be super positive, I suppose, especially in terms of health and your heart. So be careful if you're a Guan 9 and you already have some heart issues. Just be careful about that. Maybe you don't want to activate the area if you're a Guan 9 or if you have any heart issues, okay? So you can enhance it by using bright lighting. You can use a fan, play music, keep the space active, but don't add a candle there. You can use bright lighting, play music, or have a fan. Just keep the space active, work in the area. But you want to avoid extra fire elements. Again, when you have the 9-6 combination, that is a combination called fire burning the heavenly heart. Not necessarily horrible, but again, just cautious if you already have some health issues, especially blood pressure and heart. All right, flying star 2, the illness star, goes to the southwest. So it combines with the flying star 8, the yearly wealth star. Some people say the wealth might be impacted, but because I think it forms part of that parent string, the Southwest is good for like stable energy this month. I'm going to say you can use it. I wouldn't activate it, but you can spend time there and work there if possible. It can be good for building long-term assets, long-term planning, or even steady growth because it's that earth energy. It's a good sector for focusing on security, but watch for feeling stuck or overly cautious because it has a lot of earth energy. When there's excess earth, it's like you're stuck, right? It's like a mountain. And when it starts adding up all of the earth together, especially with that 8 combination. But you can definitely study there too. So if you're a Gua 2, you can lean into steady routines and long-term thinking, avoid rushing or trying to force quick results because it's more about the long-term growth. So just remember that if you use this area. Good for acquiring assets, I think. Now, flying star 4, the Academy star, goes back to the southeast and to the Gua 4. Smooth flowing energy for the month, good for studying. I think I forgot to put study on there. Like I forgot to put the little book icon. I usually have little icons on there. You can check that out again on the website. So it's just a very clear little guide. The pairing supports learning, creativity, romance, and even clear communication. It's a favorable combination for writing since it combines with that 1 star, a steady relationship building. There can also be a little bit of scattered focus or emotional distraction if you don't handle it correctly because that 1 star can be very emotional. It feeds the 4, okay? The 1 star is water, it feeds the wood. If you're a Gua 4, focus on thoughtful communication and follow through. Avoid getting lost in ideas without taking action. Maybe make you a little bit of a daydreamer, so you don't want that. You can enhance it by spending time there. Writing, you can use a little bit of a light. I wouldn't use a candle, fan, soft music. You can use fresh flowers if you are in the market, to date. You can also use the sector for scrolling dating apps or making plans with a potential love match. The Flying Star 7, Legal and Dispute Star. I think it's perfectly fine. You can use the West this month, which is where it goes. The combination brings bright, expressive, or creative energy, great for artistic work, teaching, anything with communication, networking, good for strengthening bonds and even attracting new ones. Good for networking. If you're a Gua 7, be cautious of being overbearing or bossy with the energy. Let go of what you can't control. The Gua 7 tends to be a little bit controlling anyway, so be cautious of that. Enhanced by spending time in the sector, especially for creative work. You can use the area for writing, journaling, brainstorming, and of course, networking. You need to make some calls and make some friends. The West is the place to do it. All right, let's look at the negative flying stars here. Flying stars 2 and 5 are considered negative. Remember, you can use that too this month, though. You can put your preferred cure there. I'm not really one much for a lot of quote unquote feng shui cures. The most I do is maybe put like a little charm. Maybe I'll put a little jar of salt water or sometimes a weight, but I hadn't done the weights in a while and I hadn't really felt like it has impacted me in a negative way. I think it's been fine. Starting with Flying Star 5, it's actually contained when it goes back to the center this month, the 5-2, but it can set the tone and hold a little bit of unstable energy for the month. 5 can cause misfortune as it meets the yearly 2 illness star, which can just indicate illness. This combination can just bring some fatigue, tension, lack of clarity, maybe feeling stuck. And again, this is kind of just the tone for the month. And from my perspective, the center of the home isn't a Gua, so you can't really do much to it. But do avoid spending a lot of time in the center of your home if it's somewhere that you gather, right? Just make sure things are calm and undisturbed. Don't try to move furniture around. Should be just fine. Flying star number 1. So I put this as negative, even though it's usually positive. Sometimes it can trigger things like gossip, sharp communication, because it's all about talking. It could support a little bit more, be a little bit more beneficial, but and even favor strategic thinking. So it's one of those areas that I kind of think it might be iffy for the month. The negative connotation to it is it represents an STD. So if you honestly have an STD that has flare ups and flare down, you know what I mean, then that might be an area you want to avoid for the month to avoid any sort of flare up. If you're a Gua 1, stay mindful about your words, how they can affect others, and prioritize passive thinking. Try not to overanalyze this month if you are the Gua 1. You can manage it by just spending less time in the sector, avoid heavy conversations. Again, with advanced flying stars, sometimes the possibility that parent string falls in when the daily star enters, which can ease the negative effects. I wouldn't over worry about it, but it's just the area. Flying star 3, the conflict or quarrelsome star, goes to the east to its original home here. But it combines with that yearly star 9, which is generally pretty good. But arguments, impulsiveness, temper, all these things can occur if you use the sector. Just don't use it. Shouldn't be a big deal. You don't have to cure it. The energy can be useful for a profession or an activity that can involve debate, negotiation, or high energy under pressure. And if you do sports, like if you do a lot of sports, you can use the East sector to work out or practice your moves, right? If you're a Gua 3, use the momentum to push forward with courage. Stay mindful of tone and timing, just because that indicates aggression or frustration. You can channel any frustrations you have into movement or productivity instead of confrontation. So, how they say just like work out if you feel frustrated, just do that, okay? I'll manage it by just keeping the sector quiet, not moving furniture, don't start any renovations there. And then lastly, Flying Star 8, the Wealth Star. Unfortunately, we're not going to use that this month. It goes to the Northeast. It combines with Flying Star 5. Remember also just looking from the perspective of classical feng shui here, some of those yearly shawls, the Northeast holds just a challenging energy for the whole year. The 8 supports prosperity, but the 5 can bring instability. So you don't want to bring instability to your money, especially with the presence of this 5 tiger shawl. The combination could lead to financial loss, setbacks, anything kind of unstable, but just be mindful. If you're Gua 8, work on stabilizing your finances and keeping things low risk. Avoid unnecessary pressure or overextending yourself. Don't put too much into something because honestly, things are going to take longer to pay off right now for you. especially investments. So enhance it by limiting activity in the Northeast. Keep it clean, quiet. Make sure place a salt cure here. Should be there for the year. Avoid renovations for the year. No loud noises, digging, etc. in this sector. In the areas you want to avoid renovation, let me tell you, the only areas you're going to want to renovate are the west and the southwest. Can't renovate anything else. Maybe a little bit in the south. All others avoid. So if you need any advice on renovations, you want to use some date selection, then go ahead and message me and we can figure that out. I also have a list of lucky dates or date selection on the website, so you can look at that. Although the dates are a little bit limited this month for lucky dates, use the best you can. I want to tell you that too. A lot of people, I think, kind of create this fear around feng shui. I've met people and they base their entire life around feng shui date selection. Like they won't do certain things on if it's like not a good day. But you know what? Putting the momentum behind it, if you're doing something good, I believe that karma is going to support you. I believe the energy will support you. Whatever you deities you worship, whatever God you worship, that's going to support you. Even though there's days that have fewer strong dates, make progress. Doesn't mean you can't do anything. Align your big moves with the good days and then just trust that consistent effort will just carry you. Okay. So, again, whenever there's limited dates, don't stop entirely, but just keep on going. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Looking at the energy and tone for the month, staying healthy, those zodiac signs that are impacted, and even those feng shui flying stars. Remember, even though I'm not offering the full frame energy mapping anymore, you can still message me, and I promise that we can definitely have a conversation if you need to figure out where to find any of these sectors in your home or anything like that. Or if you have questions about anything mentioned, remember info@learnfengshui.com is the new email address. Don't forget to check out that newsletter on the website. Next week, I am going to have a little bit of an Etheric Gateways Part 2, where I'm going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff, especially like garden gates. We're going to talk about feng shui formulas that tap into specific energies, and we're going to talk about people disappearing, which I think is just an interesting topic, as well as a little bit of bonus audio from Christian Kiriakou, the House Whisperer, where he talks about his time in Egypt and some experiences that he had. All right, guys, well, I'll catch you next week for that episode. Bye.